Hello folks, happy Halloween and a warm welcome to today's Artist Perspective review. This is my first full-length movie review on my channel, and it's for John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. Before I proceed, feel free to like, share and subscribe, ringing that notification bell for when my videos go live. So for an Artist Perspective review video, I talk about the movie's plot, in the 60-odd minute format that this review affords me at least, but also about artistic influences, references and ideas from other movies, maybe even TV too, plus anything else that I think is relevant for my review as well. This film often looks creatively and artistically interesting, by way of the camera work, blocking, set design and the art direction, but especially the gorgeous cinematography, so there's plenty to sink my teeth into. To put this movie into context, quickly, our story begins with director John Carpenter and his then-girlfriend, co-writer and co-producer, the late great Deborah Hill. But even before they were involved, this movie would not exist without two independent movie producers. American producer Irwin Yablans and Syrian-American producer Mustafa Akkad, a mainstay of the Halloween franchise until his death in 2005, Rob Zombie's 2007 remake of Halloween being dedicated to his memory. In the late 70s, both Yablans and Akkad wanted to make a low-budget horror film, as did 29-year-old USC film school grad John Carpenter. Halloween is Carpenter's third film. He did Dark Star in 1974 and Assault on Precinct 13 in 1976 before it. The former is a sci-fi parody.
I think, therefore I am. The underwear is too loose.
Benson, Arizona.
And the latter is a gritty, suspenseful action movie mixed with a western. There are interesting aspects to Assault on Precinct 13, like the score. The pacing and camera work feels like the prototype for Halloween, also the build-up to various action payoffs. It also features both Charles Cyphers and Nancy Loomis, who appear in Halloween. However, I regard Assault on Precinct 13 as a less interesting version of Halloween, without the supernatural element, because to me there's nothing it didn't do that Halloween didn't do better, sadly. It is technically interesting to see how it influenced his most successful film commercially, however. Halloween raked in $70 million in 1978, making it the most profitable independent film ever for a while, because it was independently financed and released. Unlike The Empire Strikes Back, Mad Max, and The Blair Witch Project, for example, as those are indie films as well, but they were studio released, Halloween is a proto-slasher horror film, with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho being a proto-slasher and very influential to Halloween. Basically, while Halloween popularized slasher films, Hitchcock essentially created the genre. Another influence John Carpenter cited for Halloween was Michael Crichton's Westworld. Carpenter always wanted to make a western, but never truly did one.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Well, boy howdy.
You've been seeing too many gangster movies.
Also, Donald Pleasence was the biggest name in the movie as Dr. Loomis.
Wouldn't he give us a touch of class?
Oh, yes.
Anyway, John Carpenter was a huge fan of Pleasence since he was a kid, and he agreed to do it because his daughter was a guitarist in a rock and roll band and a fan of Carpenter's music.
Lived up to his name, a very pleasant fellow.
Also, Sam Loomis from Psycho is referred to in Halloween because of Dr. Samuel Loomis, but only by name. Yeah, the women watching Halloween just wouldn't find this Loomis sexy at all. Luckily, they never leaned on Donald Pleasence for that kind of thing.
For $300,000, you can have final cut.
Yeah, that, plus an additional $20,000 to pay Donald Pleasence. That was the budget for Halloween. Hardly anything, even in 1978. Yablans felt encouraged to use Halloween as the title.
The word Halloween had not been used. Even the word had not been used as part of another title in the history of the movie business.
Now that's interesting, as this film was groundbreaking for the 80s slasher genre, inadvertently popularizing most of its tropes. Also the fact that nowadays horror movies often use the season they're set on in the title too, like Black Christmas, Mother's Day, April Fool's Day, and My Bloody Valentine. So let's talk about Halloween.
A disgusting horror film.
Well,
Yep, this movie subverted everybody's expectations for sure, chiefly the naysayers.
It was a good piece of cinema as well as a good popcorn movie.
Halloween's iconic pumpkin title sequence was shot in a garage off of Sunset Boulevard. I remember drawing this pumpkin from my TV screen years ago, though I didn't do a video of it. Time to reproduce that effect. I'm not going to light it, it'll burn my nerd cabinet down. Anyway, Halloween, in keeping with John Carpenter's musical vision, really went for synthesizers. Unlike Hitchcock's live instrumentation in Psycho, a form of modernization, kind of. As the text fades photochemically, thanks MGM Studios, you had the best lab in town back then. The orange hue turns softer and more pastel before essentially burning out red. The text creates an autumnal feeling and sets the mysterious tone of the movie. The typeface is the ITC Serif Gothic Heavy font, or the Albertus font, for the title Halloween. This movie gave us Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, yay. Nancy Loomis, now Nancy Keys, plays Annie Brackett, which is interesting as Samuel Loomis as Donald Pleasant's character, and in this movie an actress whose last name is Loomis in real life was cast in the film. PJ Souls as Linda.
Linda with a Y, not Linda with an I.
Pajama Souls, wait no. PJ Souls was cast in Halloween off the strength of her role in Carrie, adapted from Stephen King's first novel.
Creepy Carrie! Creepy Carrie!
Carpenter wrote Linda's role with her in mind, as he'd enjoyed her performance in Carrie. Ultimately, Carrie is another prototype for Halloween, although it does feel like a grindhouse movie by the end with all the blood. Carrie is intense, Halloween is just tense, and that's usually more interesting to me. Cinematography by Dean Cundy. Cundy did a spectacular job on this movie, which kicked off his career. The jack-o'-lantern encapsulates that dry orange October feeling. Also, the black void plays off the time of year and the atmosphere as well. The push-in on the pumpkin is tense, subtle, slow-moving, and perfectly undercut with the music. Bernard Herrmann's score to Psycho was influential to John Carpenter, and you can hear the influence on Halloween's iconic theme, played on the Prophet 5 synthesizer, which was quite new at the time, I believe. The theme is based on the 5/4 drum rhythm, which John Carpenter had been taught as a kid from his dad playing the bongos. There are 3 layers to the theme. One is percussive and almost sounds programmed to click every millisecond, which sustains tension.
It's almost as if your whole mind is being short-circuited and played with.
Another layer is the main 5/4 piano synth melody. It's almost like a 10-string arpeggio, and there are other sounds played on the keys in the 3rd layer, although they sound like other instruments, like the deep bass synth stabbing their way into the track. Synth strings enrich the 3rd layer. The Prophet 5 was able to imitate other instruments, like bells, horns, and other rich atmospheric noises, also beautiful resonating bass sounds. Eat your heart out, Bob Moog. Boy, do I know my music theory, kind of. The zoom in on the pumpkin's eye and a bit of the mouth is ominous and creepy, especially when we just have the candlelight inside the pumpkin, which goes out. The music was done improvisationally over 3 days, which is why the score can be repetitive, but it grabs you and never lets you go, basically. Associate producer Cool Lusby has just about the coolest name ever. I love it. Cool Lusby's backyard was used for when Annie goes to the laundry room and the garage. Our story starts on Halloween night, 1963, in Haddonfield, Illinois, which is not a real place. Haddonfield, New Jersey is a real place, and that was the basis for the main setting of this film, as co-writer Deborah Hill grew up there. I think the fact that this film is set in the Midwest rather than where it's filmed in California is because traditionally when you think of the celebration of Halloween in the USA, you think of the breezy Midwest in October, and that's why we're in Illinois.
Could be any place in the Midwest. Most small towns have a haunted house story, house down the lane, somebody was killed in or somebody went crazy.
Thinking about the context as to why Michael Myers, the villain of the piece, is the way he is, dare I say his backstory, it all gets told here, economically. The less we know about Michael's evil, the better. Fear and dread is built up from what we don't understand.
But of course it's not intended to be real in that awful word realistic sense.
To over-explain his evil would mean telling a totally different story where you basically sympathize with the bad guy and maybe even want him to win, which isn't the point of this film. Leave that to Rob Zombie, whose Halloween remake I'll get to one day, don't you worry. We open with an all-in-one POV shot, using Panavision's version of the Steadicam, the Panaglide, which creates this very flowing, dreamlike kind of camera work. The Panaglide was used in Exorcist 2 before Halloween, and it's often used in lieu of a dolly shot. A direct influence of Carpenter and Hills in making Halloween's intro scene was the long, unbroken POV shot that opens Orson Welles' Touch of Evil.
It's a big, long crane shot. But when you do dolly shot, it takes a long time. You don't have the time on a low-budget film to make dolly shots.
And that's where the Panaglide came in. A collective groan was often let out, as something would always seem to be wrong with the all-in-one shot, but the end result was thrilling, according to Jamie Lee Curtis. Despite the name, there are two cuts in the all-in-one shot, where Michael puts his mask on and in the black of the POV, but the takes were merged effectively in editing. In Westworld, the fact that the gunslinger has pixelated robot vision is the same as Michael's mask POV shots, which are done because Carpenter didn't want to reveal who the killer was, so we only see their view of things. We transition to an overlit white colonial homestead. Oh, how very middle American. This shot is iconic to me from watching the movie's trailer on YouTube back in the day, and it's scaring me.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago.
Then the narrator says,
Halloween.
So many lens flares in this film with the anamorphic lens being used, though they look organic as they happen in the moment. Eat your heart out, J.J. Abrams. And I don't hate J.J. Abrams at all, I'm a fan, but back to John Carpenter's mastery. The pumpkin at the door is very hollowed out, so when it glows it's more red than orange, which suggests danger, but it's also a symbol of aggression. That's the primal, unmotivated drive for Michael Myers. It's all very sexual, or about sexual repression and aggression. This movie is all based on the id.
Tell me about your mother.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
The pumpkin head is very red like blood, and the shape is kind of phallic too. Adds to the under-the-surface idea of how this movie is again about repressed sexual urges. Also voyeurism. That our main villain is a virgin stalking young women that remind him of his sister, kind of.
First time for everything.
I think Psycho and Halloween perpetuated this long-standing academic fascination with horror, but specifically of the mentally ill horror movie villain out to rid the world of sexually promiscuous people. A kind of vigilantism, but that assumption only works if the person is of sound mind.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Carpenter did not intend his film to have that kind of moral message, although Hitchcock would have. His movies have that psychosexual, pun intended, undercurrent to them. Actress and model Sandy Johnson plays Judith Myers, who never went on to do much after Halloween, even though her death is the iconic, inciting incident of this film. In reality, this old homestead looked the way it did later in the movie's timeline, because it was old, abandoned, and wrecked. So after the film was done, this was the last sequence they shot. Ironically, the first scene in the movie. It was whitewashed and the interiors were all done, in the areas that the camera would see. If we moved out of frame, it would reveal all this old raw wood. Carpets were put down and curtains hung, also all the furniture, etc. added in. Great art direction, Tommy Lee Wallace. So Judith and her boyfriend decided to go upstairs and have sex. Lights are out. Okay, away we go. And partway through Michael's trek through the house, it's over for them.
I was surprised that the guy's staying power was very, very limited.
Oh my God.
She was quite voluptuous.
The dining room looks decadent with the silverware, and the two candles on the table with the red apples in the fruit bowl. There's that colour again. Beautifully warm yellow light as we go into the corridor from the living room, contrasted with the blue lighting that looks so cold. Dean Cundy's lighting often has this consistent two-color palette in this film, either soft, pastel blue or yellow. The lens has this almost superhero vision style of POV after Michael puts his mask on. The eye holes are like the eye mask that Robin wears in Batman. This is where the exploitation B-movie aspect of this film surfaces, as we pan over and see Judith Myers in her underwear but no bra as she brushes her hair in the mirror. For John Carpenter's money, the bare breasts of Judith Myers appeared better in the take they ultimately used. This is also the beginning of many long, gliding two-shots in this film. Judith is right to be angry as Michael sneaks up on her, and yeah, for some reason Michael looks up at his own hand while he stabs her, which is fine, it's a movie.
John was acutely aware of composition.
The reason the POV looks up and away is so Tommy Lee Wallace could apply fake blood to her and then pan back to see her naked and dead on the floor.
A bucket of blood and a paintbrush.
Judith screaming is shocking, as is the score. Great spectacle. This is the equivalent of the shower scene in Psycho, the vulnerability of naked Marion Crane and Judith Myers. They're caught off guard when they die, as they're both naked, alone, and not on the alert. Also the shot of the knife raised into frame when Norman Bates kills the private investigator in Psycho is like when Michael looks up at his own hand while he stabs Judith. We hear the first instance of Michael's iconic breathing, like he's enjoyed what he's done perhaps. It makes us feel more uneasy as we exit the house, only for Michael's parents to arrive and see what happened in shock. It's a tragedy that we reveal 6-year-old Michael to be a killer. He's at an innocent age. Why would he do this? Halloween does hint at the scientific reasoning behind Michael's evil, but the movie goes for a more supernatural, spiritual explanation. Whereas in Psycho, Norman Bates' insanity and murderous activities are all explained by science. It's all from Norman's id.
Creatures from the id. Maybe that says something about the shape. He's a creature of the id.
The Shape, which is what the script always called Michael Myers, I believe, did this because he's not a man, he's a monster, etc. This movie isn't about the kills, however, unlike the slasher genre at large, as there are very few. Michael is less of a serial killer like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, or Jason Voorhees. He's more so the embodiment of evil, as his motivation is that he's pure evil and driven by pure will. He's a person, but he's also part supernatural, a force of nature. Michael's shiny clown costume is iconic. I always remember his unmasking shot from the trailer and being scared by it. Michael looks semi-unaware of what he's done, also kind of sad and confused about it too. Will Sandin only did this movie, but he's immortalized on film because of this scene, and the pull-out crane shot is also one of a kind for this movie, hired for this one shot to round out the scene.
This looks expensive!
It wasn't, but it gives more production value. We jump 15 years later, traveling on a dark, stormy night, to Smith's Grove Sanitarium.
You mean an institution? A madhouse?
Yep, it's where Michael has been incarcerated all this time. It's the eve of Halloween. When I was in school, there was a van called Loomis, which I believe is a cash handling company for the UK. Loomis, that's the doctor from Halloween. Previously, Donald Pleasance was in the James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice, several years before this.
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
We're driven by Nancy Stevens, who plays Nurse Marion Chambers, the cigarette-smoking nurse. We see the matchbook Marion uses, the rabbit in red. Reminds me of Alice in Wonderland with the rabbit motif. Also the Queen of Hearts by use of the colour red. Little instances of red in this movie, from this to the red blood we sparingly see, to material things. Also the lighting we see as Michael jumps on the car in the pouring rain. That shot makes it look like an Italian horror movie, kind of. Good elevation, Mr. Carpenter. The colour red again implies danger, but it's also kind of sexual with the rabbit as a fertility symbol. Not everything in this movie is sexual, however. Clive Barker had nothing to do with this. Michael has been mute the past 15 years, but he is not to be underestimated, according to Loomis.
The compassion's overwhelming, Doctor.
This organization does not tolerate failure.
You can explain Michael's condition medically as some kind of schizophrenia, but going by the spiritual reasoning that this movie goes for, it leads to using Christian theology, or references at least, to explain his destructiveness later on. I kind of theorize that Christianity is all but avoidable in popular media, as ideas do crop up from it a great deal. Stay tuned to my channel for my unpacking of those kinds of observations, not just in the horror genre, but creative media in general. When they pull up at the gate, they see that some of the patients are loose. Michael is clever like that. Somehow he got the door open and other inmates were able to wander around in their hospital gowns. This shot makes for kind of a creepy image, the white and the blackness. Michael appears on the roof of the car. Oh, hi, Nick Castle.
I was. Real rain, but coming out of a hose. I was attired, my underwear and a hospital gown.
A number of people played Michael Myers in Halloween, but the main one is Nick Castle. Michael harasses Marion, smashing the window with a wrench up his sleeve. Yep, there definitely wasn't a cut in the film before Michael broke that window with a mechanic's tool or anything. Marion exits the car, falling down on the wet and muddy ground in a trench behind it. What is this, France during World War I? I do like that the red light from when Michael appeared disappears when he drives away.
He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone.
Great cinematography, Dean Cundy. Yeah, a big flaw of this movie is that Michael knows how to drive, even though he's been locked up since childhood, but you know.
Maybe someone round here gave him lessons.
Maybe. Yeah, realistically it makes no sense, but for the sake of a movie, Michael needs a means to get around. It's daytime in Haddonfield. We see down the street. Fall leaves fall near the edge of frame. As the on-screen text reading Haddonfield fades to Halloween, it cues Laurie's theme, a high, beautiful two-note piano melody, often intercut with lower, darker tones that counter it. We're introduced to our heroine, Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee's two outfits of the movie were from J.C. Penney back in '78. It's amazing what $200 will buy you. Ton of money back then. The wardrobe was to look as though Laurie's mother had purchased them for school. The bookish, nice girl kind of character. Laurie meets Tommy, the kid that she's babysitting that night, on her way to school. Also, Tommy is named after Tommy Lee Wallace. While on her travels, Laurie is tasked with placing a key at the old Myers house under the mat.
The Myers house?
Yeah, the old murder house is for sale. From Strode Realty, owned by Laurie's dad. But yeah, who's gonna buy that old heap of rubble? Racist! Halloween was shot in spring 1978, and they managed to make it look like the Midwest as it's overcast, so they lucked it out on their 21-day shoot here in California. You do occasionally see a palm tree in the background, though they tried their best to shoot around it. The fall leaves in scenes are in areas that you're focusing on, but if you look down the street, there aren't any leaves. No fall in Southern California. Oops. Tommy Lee Wallace had a vision to use plastic chain link. I don't know if that means chain link fences or wrap chains around trees, etc. Then have vines intertwined with them to set the time of year. But I know vines were considered for the movie. It was decided, however, to not have outdoor locations be overly decorated, so it looks more natural. They bought tree branches from a floral supplier, plucked the leaves and threw them on the ground, then bagged them up and moved them to the next location. We see Michael in silhouette at the Myers house. Seeing his long, messy hair in silhouette is weird. It also looks like he has long, bushy eyebrows, like Owl from Winnie the Pooh. It is weird that Tommy Lee Wallace got a William Shatner Halloween mask in 1978, as this movie came out the year before Star Trek the Motion Picture reviving interest in the franchise.
I guess I owe the success of Halloween to William Shatner.
The script was asking for a kind of blank face.
It's the pale mask with human features, almost featureless.
At a novelty shop on Hollywood Boulevard, there was a William Shatner mask. Not bad for a $2 purchase, by the way. The mask, made by Don Post, was cast from Bill Shatner on the set of The Devil's Reign, and that was used to make the Halloween mask of his face. So I guess Michael Myers' face really is Bill Shatner's.
Demented and strange.
The idea for the blank face was spurred on by the French film Eyes Without a Face, with a girl whose face is badly burned. She wears a mask to cover it, and aside from her eyes, the face is immobile, and the creepy look that that mask had is why Michael's mask turned out as it did. Also, considering Westworld, the robot gunslinger's sinister body acting really influenced The Shape, how unrelenting the machine was as well. It wasn't so easily beaten, like Michael Myers, maybe even the Terminator too. Also, like the average Western, the gunslinger's name isn't used. The mysterious man with no name trope is the basis for The Shape. When Michael comes across people like Laurie and her friends, he latches onto them to exercise his potential will to kill.
You see, fate caught up with several lives here.
Laurie sings what sounds like a love song as she walks away.
I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us.
Pretty sweet, though I did a parody of this moment with the help of a friend.
I wish I had you all alone, just the two of us, me and you, that's us.
We see Michael's shoulder as he walks into frame from the right and Laurie leaves. Great use of the pictorial space to draw on my art school education.
This is one of my best pieces of work here. My left shoulder.
Nick Castle, the self-professed Marlon Brando of suit actors. The blocking in shots like this. I remember Jordan Peele using shots like this very one in Get Out at the Armitage House. The costuming and body acting is directly influenced by Michael Myers. Also the straight-on camera angles. We don't spend much time back at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, but we do receive exposition from Dr. Loomis, also a taste of Donald Pleasance overacting.
I told everybody! Nobody lists. Sam Haddonfield is 150 miles away. For God's sakes, he can't drive a car. He was doing very well last night.
Bullies pursue Tommy. One of them is Mickey Yablans, producer Erwin Yablans' son. The bullies tease Tommy until he's tripped up, collapses on his pumpkin, and it breaks. That sucks. Poor Tommy. Also, Tommy did his own stunt. Way to go, Brian Andrews. Andrews, I think, still attends Halloween conventions, despite having left acting far behind him now, I think. The bullies taunt Tommy, saying that the boogeyman comes to get you on Halloween.
Gonna get you, gonna get you, gonna get you, gonna get you. The boogeyman is coming. Boogeyman, ooh, the boogeyman.
And guess what? Here he is. The lens refocuses on Michael after the kid runs away and we see the neck of his Halloween mask. Did his bronchitis come from wearing that mask, or was it worsened by the Star Trek mask he loves so much? Looks like he needs a trip to the dry cleaners with that ranky boiler suit too.
What is my motivation?
Michael walks back to what affectionately became known as the Shape-mobile behind the scenes.
Don't act. Just walk.
He latches onto Tommy, following him, Halloween theme in his wake. What's most frightening about this scene is that Nick Castle is driving with a mask on. I know the eye holes are cut bigger and he probably could see okay.
I just took it home. I cut out the eye holes a little bit bigger.
But yeah, that's hazardous. This is a good time to bring up the fact that I enjoy this movie by itself. I am a fan of the Halloween franchise, but it's really this first film that's the best. This is a standalone movie. Anything outside of this, okay, you want to depict Michael Myers as a goofier, more Jason Voorhees-esque version of himself, and give him motivation for killing, except also have him just kill everyone around him. Fair enough.
This movie needed to end the way it did because Michael Myers is a force of nature as opposed to a human being.
A force of nature.
Because this was so self-contained, nothing was meant to follow this up.
I still feel this didn't need to have a sequel.
And sequels only exist to Halloween due to its open-endedness. I enjoy the Halloween franchise when it's good, but when it's bad, I'm reminded of the fact that this simple concept doesn't benefit from expansion. Stay tuned for my annual dissection of this series on my channel, folks. I hear that Netflix are making not a movie, but a TV series based on Halloween via a creative reset. Boy, are we running out of names for remake and reboot, but we'll see what becomes of this. When you've got an IP that's successful from the first film alone, you've got your work cut out for you, Netflix. So Loomis, on the phone to the police in Haddonfield, warns about Michael's arrival, but he's dismissed. Loomis has a brown tweed suit in the movie, his only costume, plus his cream trench coat over it, which makes him look like a detective. He is out to catch a killer after all. Loomis notices a pickup truck from Phelps, a local garage. Ooh, it has 24-hour towing services, with a hospital gown discarded at the scene. Also, most damningly, Nurse Chambers' matchbook is there, so Michael was definitely here. We pan across to reveal the body of the truck driver stripped of his clothing. The fact there is only a little bit of blood on his chest is subtle, but it is grisly looking. Michael's murderous arsenal, a Halloween mask, some rope and a couple of knives, is obtained by him robbing Nichols, Haddonfield's local hardware store. Tommy Lee Wallace embellished on the mask they bought, but in the logic of the movie, the mask is mass-produced and anyone could wear it, adding to the anonymous nature of the character.
Ripped off the sideburns, the hair, spray painted it a darker color. Took Krylon appliance white, painted the whole thing fish belly white.
It is weird how specific the colour was, also that Tommy Lee Wallace remembers the paint brand that he used. It adds to the iconic results of the shape mask, made in the span of about 45 minutes maximum. Tops. Great craftsmanship, Tommy Lee Wallace. Also, no amount of elaborate shading beyond the painting phase was needed to achieve the uncanny effect of this blank slate character. That's really down to Dean Cundy's lighting. There's a good fake-out scare at Laurie's high school. We're meant to think Michael is coming back, but around the corner instead comes Laurie and one of her best friends, Linda.
Linda with a Y?
Laurie's really studious and bookish.
I forgot my chemistry book.
Which speaks to Jamie Lee's talents as an actress playing the virtuous nice girl, while her friends had juicier parts in her opinion.
She wasn't that little teenager that she played. That was her acting ability.
Annie Brackett and Linda are wild girls, basically. Ditzy, as they say overseas, and that's more what Jamie Lee was like in real life.
I was a smart aleck and was a cheerleader in high school, so felt concerned that I was being considered for the quiet, repressed young woman.
The characterization of Laurie and her friends can be attributed to Deborah Hill.
I was a babysitter. I knew what it was like to be all those characters, so I really contributed the girl dialogue.
Laurie's first outfit in the movie is very nice and cute, though maybe more suited to an elementary schooler, not a high schooler. It does look more timeless than Linda and Annie's, even though all their hairdos look very 70s. Linda is evidently very vain, smoking a lot and using a breath spray. At least she didn't use the word like a million times. Grating. Instead, Linda's catchphrase is totally.
Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally. Totally.
PJ Soles has a similarly ditzy role in Carrie. The difference being is that Linda can be funny. She's annoying, but not to the extent of Norma from Carrie. Norma's detestable.
What?
Not coming.
Annie and Linda aren't terribly observant. Also, Linda, quit smoking. You'll stay younger and more beautiful for longer.
It won't be the nicotine that kills you, Mr. Bond.
Also, Annie, don't be stingy, bumming all those smokes off Linda. Also, underage smoking on film. It was the 70s, man. The gorgeous suburb where we track our major characters is in South Pasadena. It's very green. The dry texturing of the trees distracts from the fact that this isn't Illinois, but still. It's almost identical to the sidewalk that Carrie walks down in Santa Paula, California, especially as the trees are the same species. Annie has a boyfriend, Paul Rudd, or rather his name is just Paul. Don't worry though, we'll meet Paul Rudd in Halloween 6.
Paul dragged me into the boys' locker room.
Exploring uncharted territory.
Laurie Strode. Linda has a boyfriend too, we learn, Bob. Looks like Laurie is the only single Pringle. The girls talk about babysitting, which Laurie and Annie will be doing that evening, which pays lip service to the working title of this movie, The Babysitter Murders.
If we did a movie about babysitters, it would work. Everybody had either been a babysitter or been a baby, and also it would lend itself to kids in jeopardy.
Jeopardy! Annie is babysitting at the Wallace house, watching their daughter Lindsay. While Laurie is across the street at the Doyles, babysitting Tommy.
The only reason she babysits is to have a place.
Shit. I have a place for that.
First of all, Laurie, you wash your mouth out, young lady. Secondly, Annie, grow up.
You're being really immature.
Michael Myers, non-diegetic music in tow, drives past them. Don't crash, Nick Castle.
I think he's cute.
No, Linda. No. Halloween was neither Deborah Hill nor John Carpenter's attempt to be retro-feminist, to Frankenstein a quote from both John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis, where the promiscuous, sinful girls are punished by the villain, whereas the virginal, pure girl lives at the end. A good Christian message to the masses, but that wasn't the intention, however. If anything, while Laurie lives, creating the trope of the virtuous final girl in the slasher genre, she could have died too.
There's no Christian right morality.
Nope, save that for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Lay me down to sleep, pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to take.
Say my prayers.
It's scary when Michael looks at them as he drives past, because you see him but you don't. So Annie calls him out.
Hey, jerk! Speed kills!
Since when have you been on any of that, Annie? I know, speeding, not the other kind. When Michael abruptly slams on the brakes, that's scary. With the red brake lights, like, oh, he's triggered. Ooh, Michael just appeared at the bush there. Laurie sees him, but not Annie at first.
Oh, subtle, isn't he?
Annie goes to check on what's amiss, but Michael has gone. He's a teleporter. If you look closely, you can see a wisp of smoke go by the camera, and that's actually from John Carpenter as he's standing right next to the camera, directing, but also having a good old smoke, too. John Carpenter's cameo. Later, in Laurie's room, this scene was the basis for Jamie Lee's audition. We see a love heart cushion, also a Raggedy Ann doll. I hope it's not possessed or anything. Weirdly, there's a Raggedy Ann doll in Carrie. How popular was that toy back then? Eat your heart out, Annabelle. We see a poster of the Belgian painter James Ensor, whom I've often mispronounced as Esner since the art school days. Please tell me I'm not the only one. On the subject of fine art, it's interesting given the themes of this movie, and the James Ensor painting being here as Ensor was known to paint people in masks, often in a macabre context. The idea being to explore the darker side of humanity, also of society, so Halloween parallels with Ensor's creative imagination. Plus, this piece reappears in Halloween 2018 as an Easter egg, which delights the artist in me. Laurie sees Michael standing amongst her washing on the line as she looks out the window. Weirded out, she slams her window and turns away. The phone rings, but when she answers, there's nobody there. Then the phone rings again, and it's Annie, wondering why she hung up on her. Maybe if you're on the phone, say something. Now you're the creep, Annie.
Oh, subtle, isn't he?
She and Laurie head out for a ride in the car. Laurie carries her bag of knitting stuff. The needle does come in useful later on, so Laurie and Annie share a doobie, as they say in California, man. But at least Annie isn't drinking behind the wheel like John Travolta in Carrie. Now that would get you killed. The takeaway from this scene is that Laurie isn't that innocent. She smokes the joint as if she hates it, but in real life Jamie Lee probably didn't mind it. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis enlists the help of a grave digger or graveyard keeper or groundskeeper, whoever he's meant to be, at a local cemetery. The graveyard scene was shot in Sierra Madre, just east of Pasadena. Loomis is led to Judith Myers' graveside, but the stone is missing.
Judith Myers.
The man is shocked, but Loomis isn't.
He came home.
Tagline. Yeah, Michael extracted his sister's tombstone and made off with it. How strong is he? Did he carry it over his shoulder as he went away oh so conspicuously, or did he drag it along the ground, screeching all the way? Maybe that's why Michael's so out of breath all the time. It's from that stone he stole. Back with Laurie and Annie as Michael pulls up behind them in the Shape-mobile. Annie says she plans on watching Dr. Dementia while babysitting. Amazing, if in poor taste, name for a horror host. Where's Joe Bob Briggs when you really need him? Dr. Dementia equates to 6 straight hours of horror movies.
Little Lindsay Wallace won't know when to hit her.
Okay.
Seasons don't fear the reaper, nor do the wind, the sun, or the rain.
My dad!
Annie gets Laurie to hide her marijuana. Great idea, that thing looks like it's dipped in acid. So yeah, somehow Michael raided the store a while ago, and it's only now that local law enforcement is investigating it. The banter between Sheriff Brackett and Annie is pretty great.
It's hard growing up with a cynical father.
All dads have a bit of that in them though, Annie. Mums too.
Aren't you gonna be late?
Huh?
I said, aren't you gonna be late?
He shouts, too.
Bye, girls.
Bye, Dad!
Little does he know that's the last he'll see of his daughter, until Halloween 2. Loomis meets Brackett and they team up. The initial cut of Halloween fell under the 90-minute runtime of a feature film, speaking to how distilled down and simple the movie is, so it needed to be variously padded out. A dialogue scene between Laurie and Annie was added as a transitional aid from day to night. This scene also gave us a longtime hero of the Halloween franchise with so little screen time, Ben Tramer.
Who?
Laurie is encouraged to just ask someone to the upcoming dance, although she isn't sure of herself.
Ben Tramer. Ben Tramer? I knew it!
Oh yes, the great Ben Tramer. Don't worry, depending on canonicity, that scene either did or didn't happen, so it's all cool. Michael pursues the girls from the Sunset in Pasadena all the way to LA, where they're babysitting. The houses where they babysit are in Hollywood, between Sunset Boulevard and Hollywood Boulevard. Halloween has a natural film grain to it, though that is more obvious during nighttime exteriors. It looks really visually noisy in some shots due to the natural darkness, also the way the exposure is set. Looks like the mechanic that Michael mugged and killed for his clothing had nice shoes. Loomis pulls up at the Myers house in Sheriff Brackett's cop car. The blocking of this shot is very similar to the Blues Brothers, where the Bluesmobile pulls up at the orphanage. The Myers house looks great, dilapidated and old, but that works in a horror film. Carrie kind of has a colonial homestead like Halloween does as well, though the Myers house is more iconic. In Psycho, the Bates Motel is iconic like Dracula's and/or Frankenstein's castle. It's a medieval style setting akin to Gothic horror movies and writings. The Myers house is a much younger style of colonial Midwestern architecture, while still alluding to those older Gothic building styles too though. Also, Halloween reverses the trope of having our characters travel way to the horror. Here, the horror comes to the characters. Animal lovers, brace yourselves. Loomis and Brackett investigate the Myers house, Brackett discovering that Michael ate a dog.
He got hungry.
Disgusting. To quote Joe Bob Briggs,
"You can kill as many people as you want to, but you never kill a pet. People get upset."
I know. Ugh.
I'm a dog lover. I hated that.
This does succeed in making you hate Michael all the more though. Loomis delivers his iconic speech.
Years ago, I met this blank, pale, emotionless face, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
The devil.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, then 7 to keep him locked up because I realized behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I have to bring myself round to seeing it in his way because it's his film.
It reminds me of how in Westworld you see the gunslinger's silver eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul, and this is key to Halloween. Michael has the devil's eyes, and this robot has cold metallic eyes, an influence for sure.
I think he'll come back.
Trailer line.
Halloween.
Yeah, that line from the trailer always got to me, especially the first time I'd heard it. To catch Michael, Loomis decides to stay at the house. As Laurie babysits Tommy, dressed in his astronaut's costume, who is he, Neil Armstrong? She reads the legend of King Arthur, though Tommy tires of it. He loves his comic books now.
Laser Man, Neutron Man, Tarantula Man.
Yes? Oh hey, Marvel. It's Kevin Feige. You want to sue for trademark infringement? Well, you'd be in the right to. Tarantula Man. I mean, come on.
Lori, what's the boogeyman?
Honestly, now you're ripping off Ghostbusters. Laurie gets on the phone to Annie, who's disturbed by Lester. A reminder that we know Lester's sad fate, so I won't show it again. Although for that shot, Michael was played by a dog trainer, so no animals were mistreated in the making of this movie. Also, I think something was done with the frame rate as the clarity of the image differed to other nighttime exteriors. We meet Lindsay Wallace, played by Kyle Richards. Yes, it's Kyle, not Kylie. It is interesting that John Carpenter worked with both Kim Richards, who played Kathy in Assault on Precinct 13, and then her sister Kyle Richards in this movie. Also, Lindsay lives in Halloween, while Kathy doesn't, very sadly. Anyway, moving on. If Linda uses the word totally to excess, Annie does a similar thing with Lindsay's name in this movie.
Lindsay! 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 Lester's barking again and getting on my nerves again.
Such an overwritten line.
Lindsay! 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 Oh, Lindsay! Lindsay! Lindsay!
Speaking of, Lindsay's surname is Wallace, again because of Tommy Lee Wallace. Annie again teases Laurie, saying she asked out Ben Tramer on her behalf, and Laurie is mortified. Bored, Tommy looks out the window. He sees Michael from across the street, all backlit. Scared, Tommy goes for Laurie, who looks outside, but Michael is absent. He reappears at the kitchen window and spies on Annie like the voyeur he is. Annie spills butter on herself from making popcorn. It's enough to make her want to wash her clothes clean for her boyfriend Paul, who's coming over. In the most obvious cheat to the camera shot I've ever seen in my life, Annie strips naked, though we don't see the front half as this movie would immediately be rated X. Also, she keeps her socks and underwear on, got to maintain some dignity for the actress. Yeah, Michael really got a show. He was so flustered the plant pot fell. Well folks, now it's time for The Thing from Another World, which of course John Carpenter would go on to remake as he was a fan of the original.
Nice, quiet horror story.
I wonder if The Thing from Another World was part of the programming block presented by Dr. Alzheimer's, Dr. Dementia. Alliteration is good. Halloween extrapolates on the idea of the monster appearing briefly to build suspense for when the monster will strike next. Considering Halloween's low budget, multiple people played the shape. The POV of Michael's arm, that's co-writer Deborah Hill. Nick Castle mostly plays him in his mask and costume as we know, while Tony Moran plays Michael for the unmasking scene.
They didn't want someone really handsome like me.
For the balcony stunt at the end, that's stuntman Jim Winburn. Also Tommy Lee Wallace played him when he had to destroy property, whereas James Arness and only him played the Thing in the original. Annie goes to wash her clothes, and after a mishap in the outdoor laundry room, she gets herself both locked in and stuck in a window until Lindsay comes to her rescue. Oh, and Michael appears at the door. The eyes in his mask look small, like they're fixed on Annie. Seeing him bathed in white light as the door goes back and forth in the nighttime breeze is great, really creepy. So Annie and Paul have their borderline obscene phone call.
Oh, subtle, isn't he?
Which I'm totally here for, by the way.
Stuck in a window.
Yeah, but I've seen you stuck in plenty of other positions.
How experienced are you both?
My clothes are in the wash. Oh, shut up, jerk. I've got a shirt on. That's all you ever think about.
Like you don't either, Annie.
Now why don't we not stand here talking about them and get down to doing them?
Naughty Annie. Annie is asked over to Paul's, so Lindsay and Tommy will have to be babysat by Laurie. Woohoo! Shirk your responsibilities, Annie.
Oh, Paul, no longer so. Oh, Paul, no longer so.
Did Paul deconvert to Saul? Annie goes to her car, but the door is locked. She gets the keys, successfully reopens the door, but then realizes, wait a minute, the door was locked. How did I open it? But then, oh, Michael jumps up from behind the driver's seat and strangles her. Low budget, low budget. Michael kills her, breathing heavily all the way. Michael, stop being a pervert. Annie writhes in pain, facially overacting, near unintentionally comedically in the process, though. We see that Tommy has a Howard the Duck comic. We had to change Spider-Man to Tarantula Man, but Howard the Duck is okay. They are both Marvel. Linda arrives at the Wallaces with her boyfriend Bob, whose glasses make him look like Evan Peters, but what you gonna do, that was the style at the time. Bob and Linda's relationship is one that John Carpenter, also Jamie Lee Curtis, wished they'd had in high school but didn't. I should clarify, not with each other. Drinking, being all in love like teens, and making love and smoking. Linda's a bit tipsy. Yeah, she's very tipsy. So Bob and Linda get away with breaking and entering the vacant Wallace house so they can do it in the upstairs marital bed. Okay, this is sick. Michael latches on to Linda and Bob, standing in the corner watching them kiss. Voyeurism, Mr. Myers, sir. As Linda and Bob exit this two-shot, PJ Souls falls over her feet because behind the scenes she tripped over the dolly track. Aw, poor Dolly. The phone is taken off the hook so they can have their fun times.
And first sin was ended course.
Oh, fantastic.
This movie's brilliant. Wait, no, he hardly took any time to please you. But I mean, if you're okay with that, more power to you, Linda.
We do this all the time.
Yeah, Bob's about as insensitive as the guy who did it with Michael Myers' sister. So now it's time for a post-coitus cigarette. And then a drink.
Go get me a beer.
Pushy girl. I mean, yes, Linda, be more demanding. I like that. Bob opens the fridge, the light works in calming you a bit, then the kitchen door magically opens, I guess. Soft blue light as Bob goes to close it, wondering what's up.
Linda, you asshole.
Language, Bob. But you see, we're just taking our time, no rush, and that makes the loud music sting and Michael barging through the other door more scary. Eat your heart out, James Wan.
The idea of a jack-in-the-box. Suddenly it goes, "Wah!"
This shot is very much like when The Thing busts into the room with the lights off. It's dramatic looking and very much like what Dean Cundy did with his lighting. Michael saw Bob as something to make a sick joke out of and impaled him like a butterfly collector does. Sorry, an entomologist.
As if looking at a butterfly.
Which,
that's
by the way,
stuck.
my dog does that when I take food out of a thing.
Also the way Michael tilts his head back and forth like he's admiring his prize.
Like he's looking at a butterfly collection. That's the only direction I think I gave him.
Tilt your head as if you're admiring your work.
Bob's face falling as he dies is good, and the ridges of his feet in shadow look very dramatic. Bob's feet falling limp reminds me of paintings that depict the crucifixion of Jesus, just compositionally, because Bob isn't an innocent like Jesus, he's a sinner, like one of the criminals put to death by Christ's side. The difference being, Bob had no chance to repent, he just bore the weight of his own guilt. Ahem, here endeth my sermon, everyone. When Bob is stabbed through the wall, it's in a way that he wouldn't be able to stay on the wall, but this is a movie. Ooh, Linda's got pretty pink nails as she files them. So Michael enters the bedroom, dressed up as a ghost.
People don't think The Shape has a sense of humor. Come on, look at this is funny, right?
It was Deborah Hill's idea for the film to have Bob's glasses on Michael's ghost costume, an iconic visual. I don't know why he's done this to scare Linda, other than that he's evil, but he just has.
Cute, Bob, real cute.
Michael looks like Charlie Brown when he went invisible and dressed up as a ghost in the Peanuts cartoon, with the eye holes cut into the sheet, too. So iconic. It's creepy how the door glides open, too. When I saw this movie on the big screen as part of a one-night-only re-showing, this got some laughter from the audience. Certain shots just don't hold up to modern audiences. Still.
Well, did you get my beer?
Selfish. Feeling frisky, Linda removes her bedsheet to titillate her boyfriend.
See anything you like? You bet your sweet beep I do.
I'm dumbfounded but glad that PJ Souls still got work after Halloween because of the full frontal nudity. Anyway, Michael can see her but isn't impressed.
Are you weird?
Linda phones Laurie, and Michael has a chance to strangle her from behind with the telephone wire, while also latching on to Laurie again as his next kill. This image, unless someone has already done it, is very meme-worthy. We see PJ Souls' chest as she's choked out by Michael. It's scenes like this that make the likes of Wes Craven say that the slasher genre is one notch removed from pornography, and here I happen to agree. Yeah. PJ Souls emotes a great deal with her eyes here too. Meanwhile, Loomis is still at the Myers house, but then he notices the Shape-mobile. Laurie heads over to the Wallaces.
Don't go in there!
We know what's happening, but our leading lady doesn't, which builds tension. We cut to Annie spread out on the bed like in a crucifixion pose, another Christ image right there, but also with Judith Myers' headstone. We've only heard about this stone, but seeing it here now is striking and shocking. Compositionally, having Annie's body and Judith's grave together shows that Michael's MO is to kill girls that remind him of his sister. I know this gothic gravestone prop is not made of stone, it's styrofoam, but it passes for stone due to the lighting. And we don't hold on this shot for long. Laurie holds back her horrified reaction, then Bob swings down from above. Yeah, remember when Michael stole some rope? He strung Bob up with it. I pity Bob's actor as I can tell the blood's rushing to his head. Then, almost magically, Linda is revealed in the closet, dead and with her eyes still open. Ugh, creepy. Also, how humiliating as we see her exposed chest still. Ugh, tragic and horrible.
Somebody help! Help me! Hello! Please! Can you hear me? Oh God! Help!
Yeah, Jamie Lee, blow that microphone out. They don't call you a scream queen for nothing. The jump scare of Mrs. Bates appearing and stabbing the private investigator as he falls down the stairs in Psycho influenced two scenes in Halloween, Judith Meyer's death and my two favourite shots in the movie. Laurie whimpers as Michael appears from the shadows and he slashes her with his knife. Very Freudian.
Nice, artful way of doing a nice backlight, romantic shot.
We see nothing but blackness in the closet, but then the dimmer light slowly reveals his face, music sting, slash, and... It's easy to hear where Jamie Lee Curtis gets her vocal capabilities from. Like mother, like daughter. We see that Laurie has bled from this attack in later shots, subtle build up to the graphic stuff. Great horror is what you don't see, and your mind is left to imagine what happened. Thank you, Alfred Hitchcock. Also, Laurie falling downstairs is like Carrie falling downstairs after their respective knife attacks. When Michael stands at the top of the stairs, that's very John Wayne, that iconic cowboy stance before he descends to chase Laurie. This is also a nice trailer shot of Michael walking down the stairs too. Laurie clumsily runs back to the Doyles. The fact that Michael still takes his time is legitimately creepy, and this whole sequence always works on repeat viewing.
Cold and blue outside and warm and golden in here. We'll be safe here for a second.
Laurie swerves away as Michael plants his knife in the sofa, and Laurie stabs him in the neck with a knitting needle. Ouch. Also a very femme weapon. Go Laurie, you feminist icon of horror cinema you. Laurie throws Michael's knife on the floor as she's disgusted by it and goes to check on the kids. She tells them that she killed the boogeyman, but there's activity on the side of the frame. Once Michael is seemingly dead, again, Tommy and Lindsay are instructed to go and get help, so they just run away screaming. This does alert Loomis, however, who is now right nearby. Laurie hides in the closet, tying the door handle shut from the inside. Kinda silly. I remember seeing an old DVD copy of Halloween and there was a behind-the-scenes still of this scene on the back, with Michael creepily looking down the wardrobe door. That scared me back in the day. Laurie fashions a new weapon at the edge of a wire coat hanger. She stabs his eye with it. Ouch, brutal, Laurie. Michael drops his knife and Laurie, using both hands, gets him in the heart area. John's direction was stab the motherfucker, to Jamie Lee's great amusement.
The movie's about revenge of the repressed. Jamie Lee has a connection with the killer because she's repressed too.
She makes it out unscathed again, although she also throws the knife away again.
No!
Nick Castle does not die so easy. Watch this.
I think Jamie Lee Curtis has addressed this at conventions as yes, it is a silly thing to do, but how was Laurie to know he was immortal? He slowly raises himself up and turns his head in a very robotic head move. It's chilling with him out of focus. This scene makes Michael's mask look a little more like skin, pretty weird. Michael tries to kill her, but she unmasks him and he stops. Yeah, Michael kind of looks like Sloth from the Goonies with the distorted eye makeup from his stab wound. The skin tones don't match, but it's low light, you can get away with it. Tom Savini, take notes.
People would scream when Michael is unmasked. You're so built up to it.
This reveal wouldn't be as effective nowadays, sadly, but it's great that that scene freaked people out back in the day. The unmasking tells Loomis, who is armed with a gun off camera, that this is indeed Michael who pulls his mask back on. We see the clean edges of the white outside and the skin tone that the inside has. This works as this is a mass-produced product in the Halloween universe. Michael breathes heavily, looking back as his doctor tries to kill him.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Loomis unloads 6 shots and Michael falls off the balcony. Ooh, nice shoes and green socks, Jim Winburn. When Michael gets shot, it's kind of like when The Thing gets shot. And I would think when The Thing is thrown through the window, that's the basis for the climax of Halloween. Okay, I don't know if that sound effect is meant to be funny, but it amuses me. So Michael got stabbed in the chest, neck and eye, shot 6 times and fell off a balcony. Surely that's him dead now, right? The way Michael lies in a heap with accompanying music sting is great. Again, this shot earned a laugh from the audience I saw it with in 2018, which annoyed me. Like, come on, don't laugh at this, enjoy it.
The battle is over.
Oh?
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Speaking of the boogeyman and how you can't beat him, well... Donald Pleasance knew that the only way he could play this moment was either in shock that Michael lives and is missing, or an "I knew this would happen" sort of a reaction, and it's great that they chose that for the final edit, keeps the movie open-ended. Oh, Lori love.
And ladies and gentlemen, the sequel is born.
It took a minute before Halloween 2 came on the scene, and it did well in spite of just about everyone involved, especially behind camera, not wanting to do more.
When Halloween 2 was introduced to us, we all scoffed. We did it. One movie, we don't need any more. Boy, were we naive.
But it was very funny because people who saw the picture thought we had set it up for a sequel. And it was the furthest thing from our minds.
We shall see a new power dominating the world.
The closing montage was created in editing to relieve the audience before the movie is over, but it's also another example of padding the film out to 90 minutes. We see all the places that Michael has been. Where did he go? He could be anywhere.
The ending means he's not only gone, he's everywhere.
In the Doyles' living room, however, we see the knife still on the floor, so there's a continuity error there as the knife didn't end up there in the end, but whatever. NBC, after they wanted to show Halloween on TV, they requested additional scenes to pad it out still further than the reshoots for the theatrical version, while Halloween 2 was in production, and so that's why that carpet footage exists, according to John Carpenter. The TV cut of Halloween, it's tedious. Even if it is only 11 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, basically, despite some interesting shots. Speaking of interesting shots, it's perfect that the final shot of this movie is of the old Myers house, so it all comes full circle. The horror all begins and ends with this old place. The way the title fades up is great, along with the way the credits roll. Thanks John Carpenter and MGM. The ... dots between people's names and the roles they had on the film is very charming. There is an error in the credits as it lists Michael as 23 years old, when he should have been 21. 6 plus 15 equals 21, no? Halloween 2 corrects this, so it's nice that the sequel got some things right. Well folks, that was my artist perspective review of John Carpenter's Halloween. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned to the channel to see me tackle more of the Halloween franchise over time. Have a happy Halloween, and a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, in case I don't see ya.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.